Hi gamers, and welcome to checking out my Sega Saturn game collection. It's funny how the Saturn only sold about 1/3 of the amount of consoles that the Nintendo 64 sold, but still it had roughly plus 50% more games than on the Nintendo 64. That's mainly in Japan. Lots and lots of Japanese exclusives released for the Saturn, and yeah, really a great library of arcade conversions, shooters, fighters, everything, but also lots of classic Sega series, both continued and started on the Sega Saturn. And here I have 55 games spread about evenly between European and Japanese versions, and let's check out what I have here. First up, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Not that many people know that this was actually released on the Saturn as well. It was not a PlayStation exclusive, though this was the Saturn version was never released outside Japan. So no English text here, but this is technically a worse version than the PlayStation one. This had some slowdown, I think, but this had some added content, like the playable character of Maria here. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but still a really cool game to have on the Sega Saturn. And then, first of many shooters, here we have Blast Wind, made by Technosoft, and I just love their Thunder Force series, which are horizontal shooters, but this is a vertical shooter, and really a great one at that. Daytona USA, a really arcade classic, held in high regard even to this day. Lots of speed, and of course this isn't anywhere near the arcade perfect port. People wanted it to be, but actually the original arcade board wasn't even perfectly replicatable even on the Dreamcast, so let alone the Saturn. So Daytona USA it's a real beast in the arcades, but the Saturn port is actually a pretty good one still. Deck Athlete, a collection of summer sports by Sega. Dead or Alive, the first game in the classic fighting series. And here we have, gotta read here, Daytona Twinbee Yahoo Deluxe Pack. This cute 'em up. So shoot 'em up with cute characters, but plays really great, even though, of course, doesn't have spaceships and big explosions. Unlike Dodonpachi, this has almost like a holy aura surrounding it when you talk about it to shoot 'em up enthusiasts, and a really hardcore game. This the hunt for high scores still rages on in the internet for this game, and yeah, I can't play this to save my life, but I really do appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into these games, and love the graphics and all. Then we go to my first European game here, Exhumed. This is a first-person shooter known as Power Slave in the US, and this has a small but cult following. Some people even go as far as to say that Metroid Prime copied this game in design and structure. I wouldn't go that far, but it is a cool game, and has this Egyptian theme going on, which is a really unique thing in games. Fighters Megamix, this collection of Sega all-stars characters fighting it out. And Fighting Vipers, another one-on-one fighting game from Sega AM2 studio. Then from cult favorite Treasure game studio, Guardian Heroes, a really game held in high regard. Again, gorgeous 2D graphics and great fun gameplay, especially the 6-player battle mode, where you can plug in a multi-tap and 6 controllers and 6 players can play all at the same time. A great action RPG with leveling up and customizing your characters, stuff like that. So a really great action RPG. Grandia, the RPG hope for the Saturn after PlayStation had their Final Fantasy games released, and yeah, this wasn't released on the Saturn outside Japan, and later it was even released on a PlayStation, and on the PlayStation it came out all over the world, so not the exclusive that Sega hoped it had been, and I guess it did more for the PlayStation than it did for Saturn, but still a pretty significant game back in the day. Last Bronx, another fighting game, 3D fighting game from Sega. And a Layer Section, a classic shoot 'em up from Taito. Manx TT Superbike. And then probably my favorite Sega Saturn series, Panzer Dragoon. Here we have the first game and the second game, Panzer Dragoon 2, and I just love these games. Such gorgeous graphics, really. The coders really pushed the Saturn to its limits as far as 3D graphics go. And but yeah, a fantastic game world, and love the design. And these are on rails, flying shooters, and I love the leveling up of the dragon in the second game. So lots of variety there, and branching paths and all that. The first game is a bit simpler, but I do prefer the music in the first game. It's actually one of my all-time favorite soundtracks in any game ever. So I just love that. You gotta search YouTube for its end credits music. That's the best track in the game. But still, fantastic games. These are essential games if you have a Saturn. There was also a third game in the series, Panzer Dragoon Saga, but this is something very different from the shoot 'em up shooting games. This is an RPG, and a really sweet one at that. It does have the standard towns, and you go to the store and buy stuff and talk to people and go to the next town, but the battle system, it's really unique. You fly on a dragon, and you're gonna fight in all 4 directions, and it's really a fantastic take on a, well, you know, many Japan RPGs are quite alike, and Panzer Dragoon Saga is something very different, and it still hasn't been anything quite like it to this day. It's quite short. It's like a 5-hour game, but it's a really sweet 5 hours. This is quite a rare game. I believe I've heard that there was only 5,000 copies made for Europe and the US both. but the Japanese version is much more common. But if you want to play this in English, you have to pay quite a big price for this, but it is worth it. It's really great. It's actually one of my favorite RPGs ever. Then Pocket Fighter, 2D fighter from Capcom, with these super deformed characters from the I guess from the puzzle games they made, and they used these characters on that, but they also made fighting games with these characters. It's great fun. And then we get to Radiant Silvergun, perhaps the most wanted Saturn game there is. Not sure how much the Xbox 360 release of the game has lowered its value. Probably not that much. I got mine for $200 several years back. I'm sure it's around somewhere. That, and yeah, people do love the originals. And yeah, this is again a shooter made by Treasure, and this is basically Ikaruga it's like a Radiant Silvergun 2, even though they're quite different games, but they still have something in common with the shooting system and chaining the kills you make. It's actually a really long game. It's like an hour and a half to go through, which is 2 or 3 times longer than most shooters, and lots of texts and some cutscenes as well. So it's and also it has you have 7 power-ups, 7 weapons you can use straight from the start. You don't pick up power-ups. You have every weapon in the game straight from the start. So it's a very different shoot 'em up in that respect as well. So it might be the reason why people hold this in so high regard, because it's really just so different of a game, but plays really great, and Treasure did some great stuff with the Saturn hardware here, porting this arcade game to Saturn. Real Bout Fatal Fury, first game in the series, a port from Neo Geo. Many 2D fighters and yeah, mostly fighters needed to have, let's just open this up, needed to have this memory expansion slotted into the cartridge slot of the Saturn, just so that the machine would have enough memory to run all these gorgeous 2D games. And Real Bout is one of those, but there were many of these big boxed sets with the added memory expansion there. So. Then we have Resident Evil, of course, first released on the PlayStation and over a year later on the Saturn, but it was still a nice thing for the Saturn to have. Of course, a classic game, but again, I think I said in a previous video how I will talk about the Resident Evil series more on my GameCube collection video, because that's the console that had every Resident Evil up to 4, so more of this series there. Then Road Rash, classic motorcycle action game from EA. And then I guess I screwed up my alphabetical order here, but let's go here. Cyberbots, a really cool robot fighting game from Capcom. This is a limited edition with an art book and other stuff. Yeah, this is really huge sprites, huge robots here battling it out. Excellent action. Then onto the second row here. Oh, more games outside of the alphabetical order. Of course, I have, if you wondered, No, I'm not missing Nights into Dreams. I have here the PAL version and a Japanese version as well. These came with the 3D controller. Some people have the misconception that Nights was the first game that used a 3D controller, and that Sega came out with this game before the Nintendo 64, but that's not true. The Nintendo 64 came out a month before Nights. Not sure how much longer Nintendo 64 as a console was in development before Nights was introduced, but still, no. Nights wasn't the first, but it was among the first, for sure. Not that many games truly utilized the 3D controller on the Saturn, but Nights put it to good use. Really a great... Well, it's not really a platformer, you're flying around, but I think Nights here is as close to a mascot of the Saturn, at least these days, in people's minds. And yeah, really a classic game from Sonic Team. And now back to the alphabetical order. Saturn Bomberman, one of the best multiplayer games there is. Of course, many Bomberman games are great fun in multiplayer, but Saturn Bomberman is the only one that lets you play with 10 players on the same screen. And you do that with 2 multi-taps and 10 controllers, and yeah, you really have a huge maze there, and all 10 players inside it, and just bomb away. It's one of the best fun you can have at parties. I'm really lucky to have played this game with the full 10 players a couple of times, and I can vouch for how much fun this is. Sega Rally Championship, classic rally game. Shining the Holy Ark, the Shining series, RPG series, began on the Mega Drive, Genesis, and continued on Saturn. Also got here Shining Wisdom. And then there wasn't that many Sonic games on the Saturn. Of course, they did try to make the full Sonic 3D platformer, but it was never meant to be, so they just ported this Sonic 3D Flicky's Island from Mega Drive, of course adding some gameplay elements to it, but it's basically a Mega Drive game ported to Saturn. Then we have Sonic R, which is a racing game. Well, they are running, but basically a racing game, running around the tracks. And yeah, this wasn't a true Sonic game in many people's minds. So they really should have made a true Sonic platforming game. That's what people expected, but it never came to be. More shooters, Soukyu Gurentai, made by Rising. This was one of my, when I got my Sega Saturn, it wasn't when it was still new. I got this, got the console after it was had been dead for a couple of years. This was one of my favorite shooters, and I really have, I guess I hold it in high regard because of that too. But this has some really nice ideas. It has this 3D polygonal, I don't know what you call it, cone in which you target enemies below and above you. So it's basically the view is three-dimensional, even though this is a 2D game graphically. Great stuff. Street Fighter 02. Sega mainly made 3D fighters, and Capcom made 2D fighters for the Saturn. Lots of them. Then we have Tomb Raider. A little known fact is that Tomb Raider came out on Sega Saturn first, and the European PAL version was the first. It didn't come out on PlayStation. It came out there about a month later, so almost a simultaneous release, but I gotta give credit where credit is due, and yeah, Tomb Raider is a Saturn game. Don't you forget it. More 2D fighting goodness from Capcom. Vampire Hunter, Darkstalker's Revenge, and Vampire Savior. So the Darkstalkers series, it's really something else with vampires and werewolves and demons and all sorts of mythical creatures fighting it out. Great fun. Then let's pull this here. I have Virtua Cop with the iconic blue gun here, and also have Virtua Cop 2 here as a separate release. I really did love light gun games as a kid and still do. Lots of good light gun games on the Dreamcast, not that many on Saturn. But yeah, Virtua Cop 1 and 2 are, of course, essential games if you like light gun games. Then one of the biggest reasons to get a Saturn back in the day was the home port of Virtua Fighter. And also have here, of course, Virtua Fighter 2. Really essential games. And really cheap. These must be the first two games you pick up for your Saturn if you get one. And the first one, it really isn't an arcade perfect port, but I do believe the second one fares better. But yeah, Virtua Fighter it's really an influential series, and it's known for its realistic approach. Well, not the floaty jumps, but the hit detection and reaction to hits. Virtua Fighter it's really a stalwart of a 3D fighting game series. And here a cute Virtua Fighter kids, kind of like the Pocket Fighters on by Capcom, with the super deformed characters. Here we have Virtua Fighter, sort of kid characters fighting it out with the Virtua Fighter engine. And here you can see how big of a franchise Virtua Fighter was for Sega. They also released this set of CG portrait series, and as you can see here, it's CG and music, so basically just still pictures and musical clips, and each of the 10 characters had their own disc here. So number 1 here is Sarah Bryant, number 2 is Jackie Bryant, number 3 is Akira Yuki, number 4 is Pai Chan, number 5 Wolf Hawkfield, number 6 Lao Chan, number 7 Shun Di, number 8 Lion Rafal, number 9 Kagemaru, and number 10 Jeffrey McWild. And actually, if you sent a proof of purchase to Sega for getting a full set of all 10, you could release for free this gold disc, which is of course by far the rarest of this series. These single discs here, they're almost free, so on eBay, so they're great and inexpensive collectible for collectors. And but I don't have the gold disc, but I do have this extra disc, the final CG Portrait series, the final, and this is Dural. And yeah, nice fun little collectibles here, Virtua Fighter themed. And slowly getting to the end here, Virtual On, Cyber Troopers mech game, which work with this huge twin stick controller, which I don't have. Of course you can play it with the regular controller as well, and there was a Seagull in the arcades, which was ported to Dreamcast as well, but this is the first in the series. And finally, Wipeout, another one of those games that people think of PlayStation when they think about Wipeout, but this was released on Saturn as well. Well, also on the Nintendo 64. But Saturn got quite a extensive library of various games, and way more than it really should have had due to poor console sales. But yeah, Saturn has a really great library, and lots of inexpensive games for starting collectors, but lots of really expensive games as well, and are really fantastic 2D games. And I just love the Sega Saturn. It's a really great system to play and to collect. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.